This is Fred Thompson. I'm at his home just outside of Port Alberni, and he has a story to share with us, and I thought that this would be the most appropriate way to do it. So actually, without further ado, Fred, would you just sort of like to clue us in on your experiences with BC Hydro and Power Authority?
We're in a rural area here. We have no fire protection. We're not rich people. We can't afford insurance. Plus, if a fire originates on our property, we are fully responsible for where it goes and the damages it causes. Our situation here is that it's going to take out both our homes, our farm outside buildings, perhaps cost us our lives. I'm very concerned in the mannerism that these meters are being changed by first off, by a bunch of semi-skilled, improperly trained individuals. That is only my opinion. When this meter was put in here, originally, it was an analog meter as well as the other one. It was done by electrical contractors. The wiring was done by electrical contractors. It was inspected by the electrical inspector. BC Hydro came, run the lines in with the power all disconnected. The main breaker was opened. All the other breakers were opened. This was acknowledged to BC Hydro. BC Hydro saw this. BC Hydro checked it back with the two crews back and forth, the one at the road and the one at the meter, that everything was dead. The meter was put in properly without it being forcefully applied. There was no power to anything, so consequently no chance of any arcing. The clamp was put on it, the seal was put on it. It was confirmed that that was done, back to the crew on the road, and the power was turned on, thus done safely. Hot work is not safe, where you're pulling a meter or pulling any circuit open that you can arc it and cause those contacts to be burned. Now, since then, I've chased the smart meter people off of here twice. When the pacemaker was here, neither household could use the microwave, plus I couldn't weld or run my welding machine of any sort when my mother was here, only when she was off the property. Now, yeah, I've got a complaint about that, but my main complaint is the danger of fire here. And I will proceed to take you over and show you what the meter connections look like on an old on some meter equipment that I have, and what a disconnect switch looks like, and how that is operated, and the safe way of handling this. As far as I'm concerned, this thing of not disconnecting the power, not making sure that the breakers are all open, and not making sure that people have had a chance to shut their computers down, etc., 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 is ludicrousy. This is all about them saving money doing this, which is, of course, the cost factor is going to go up because you're going to have more crews involved and it's going to be a timelier situation. And it's about, well, we're not going to be, in my opinion, it's about we're not going to be responsible. We're going to just delay things. If there's something happens too bad, we got the money, we'll fight you. We're City Hall. You can't fight City Hall. Well, sorry, folks, we can fight City Hall, and it's time we all stood up. And there's lots of us out here that are in a rural situation that face exactly the same devastation. Does somebody have to get burned to death? Do we have to lose our families, our loved ones, our homes, our property? There's already been home and property damage, very severe, all scattered all over North America. Where does it stop? Where does the buck stop? I ask you, Mr. Premier, Mr. Prime Minister, everybody involved. Wake up, give your head a shake, smarten up. Okay, folks, I forgot to introduce myself a little further. My background is I'm an interprovincial Red Seal heavy-duty mechanic. I have a lot of accreditation over and above that. I'm also a commercial vehicle inspector. I've done approximately 4+ years as millwright, non-ticketed, where I worked in a sawmill that I MacGyvered it. I did everything. Plus I was involved with working with the three-phase power. So I have a pretty good rounded background and a rounded background of professionalism, and that's how things are done. And I've seen too many times the result of shoddy workmanship or companies shortcoming, taking shortcuts, getting away with it, but eventually it biting them. Now I will show you here what your meter plates and your parts inside your meter box are like, where the contacts are, and what can happen or what will happen, and explain it to you. A little bit about power. Now, this here is a very old base, parts of a base that have been in service for I don't know how many years, probably 50 to 60 years.
And this is an analog meter, is it correct?
This is from an analog meter from years ago. As you can see, folks, it's very robust. The connections are really good and strong. It's laid around the moisture here for years. If you had to, it can be cleaned and still serviced. You can see here where the point structure is, where the meter slides into it. They're knife action. There's no sign of any burning despite having years and years of use here. Now, this here would be actually in reality sitting this way with the power coming in, one 120 volt lead or 115 volt lead here, one here. This is your neutral in the center. So you've got 110 volts from here, 110 volts from there, and 220 across. If you have no understanding of how power works, our 60 cycle system works that it's a wave like this, happening 60 times every second. That wave goes and collapses. So it is 110 volts from this peak to this peak, and 110 volts from that peak to here. And the combined peak gives you 220. As you can see, contacts are pretty fair size, but they're really designed to do the job. But when you take and change this under load, you're putting 4 knives going down in here. It is very, very hard under load to be able to put this all together simultaneously, quickly, and not have an arc issue. This is the whole thing that I am really concerned about, is arcing. If you arc it, you compromise these connections. And when you compromise those connections, they lose their capacity. They build heat, further arcing occurs, and eventually you can get a fire. Who knows when? You got no idea when you come to somebody's house and don't ask them to shut all their power off. Plus, when you stick your hand in here, half of these connections are hot. What happens if I come out and get in a big argument with you while you're changing that meter out, and my little grandson comes along, "Oh, what's this, Grandpa?" and sticks his hand into here. He's a dead child, or a badly injured child. And they do not want to show any accountability in their workmanship, or even identify who they are. Now, my opinion of this is that this is very shoddy workmanship and is being done incorrectly. To do this safely, you go out to the hydro pole and you pull the fusing off properly with a hydro crew where the fuse is and their disconnect is out there, and do it properly. Then it is safe. Otherwise it is unsafe workmanship. Now watch the action of how that opens. Even opens slowly. See how it
That's fast.
opens itself with springs. It disconnects immediately. Now if you're fooling around with a meter and you're doing this, and doesn't matter how much of a load there is behind it, you're going to get arcing.
Yes.
This is what's happening here. This is why they're failing. They're causing arcing between the meter and these contacts. Just like you were sitting with this switch and going like this, but you can't get it in. Here's the coax guy, or wherever the installer is, fooling around, trying to shove it in, banging and thumping on it. Totally inappropriate handling of it, in my opinion, which means nothing. But
yes, it does.
Totally unsafe work practices. And there's many, many of us homeowners out here that live in a rural area that have got no fire protection and have not got the money to insure ourselves, or we can't even be insured because of the situation. And we face having everything burned down, losing everything we've worked all our lives for. I'm 69 years old. I got very little time to recoup unless I'm lucky enough to win a huge lotto. And then maybe having the fire get off our property, we are held accountable for it, burn up how much timber, how many other homes, maybe start a thing like happened up at Cold Lake or down in Colorado or Montana. Really nice. And you guys at Corex and Hydro have got the gall to say you're not accountable. I think you better start reading this little act right here, fellas. Bill C-45, and understand it, because you darn well are accountable. You're the same kind of people that ran the Westray mine and caused all that disaster and killed those people. Wake up, smell the flowers. That's only my opinion. That's all I have to say to you. As far as I'm concerned, you're a bunch of jerks. You know, guys, I ask you all, the public, every official involved in this, my MLA, the electrical inspectors, every one of you, where in the H is your due diligence? It doesn't exist with what's going on. All it is trying to save money. Somebody is going to get killed.